joined by Old Dominion head coach Blaine Taylor. To his left is Kent Bazemore. To his right, Chris Cooper. We'll start with the opening statement from Coach Taylor on the game and then open up for some questions.
When you get to this time of year, it's kind of odd and surreal to walk to the locker room. You always have a different scenario. As I walked into this one, a year ago, our season ended at a tip-in with Butler in the NC2A tournament. It was one of the most heartbroken locker rooms I've ever been in. Go to this one, and we've been in postseason play 7 years in a row. We will be in postseason play of some sort this year. So this isn't the end of our story. It's another turn in the trail in our journey. But our journey this year has been one that's been personally very enriching for me just to be a part of. We're sitting in December with 7 wins and kind of wondering where we're going to head, and we end up with the magical 20, which kind of brands you with a good seal of approval, and then make a run into the upper echelon of the league and come here and play a whale of a game yesterday and fell short today. But as a 2-time defending champs, I think we came in here and carried ourselves with pride and dignity and shook hands with the victors and wished them well. I'll transition a little bit to the game. I think what you got to do is just kind of run down the stat sheet and certainly give credit to where credit's due. But in most every category, slight edge, sometimes a little more than slight, out-rebounding us. That was a big thing on their part, and they had some timely boards. Made some more 3-pointers than we did. We had a nice shooting day yesterday. I was a little bit wondering, as many shots as they missed yesterday, if they might not make a few more today, and they did. So some difference there. And then I think if you go across, you don't jump up and see a whole bunch of difference in steals and turnovers and stuff like that. A few more points at the free throw line. But all in all, they did a nice job defensively. They really made Kent work. I think Kent's played so well the last month. He's gotten a lot of attention. But Coop ends up with a double-double. We had our moments, we had our chances, but compliments to Drexel, the season they've had, the run they've been on, and certainly I know that they're looking forward to tomorrow, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Raise your hand, we'll bring the microphone.
Ken, could you talk about what they did to you defensively here today?
They did the same thing every team pretty much did. Just made me work. My shot didn't fall today. This pretty much what happened. I think I took the same amount of shots yesterday. They didn't fall. They all felt good. It just didn't go in. It's just one of those days. As a basketball player, that you live and you die by your craft. And I obviously died by it today.
Chris, you guys struggled to get it close. You get it to 8, I think, with about 7 minutes to go. What was the process that you guys did going down the stretch?
Pretty much continue to play like we were playing, try to press a little bit more, get boards. But it just came down to it as we couldn't jump over the hump and get back to where we wanted to be at the end of the game.
There were a few pivotal possessions as I look back at it where we gave ourselves a fight chance. You'd like to not had maybe quite as deep a hole, but we could see some light at the end of the tunnel. If a couple of things had gone our way in terms of maybe a 3 going down, or sometimes a whistle, sometimes them not making a play, just a variety of things that you'd have to fall in your favor. And it seemed like every time we kind of start seeing a little glimmer of light, something would happen that would kind of stem the tide.
Anything else, please, guys?
Coach Taylor, can you talk a little bit more about that opening drought you guys had? Did you feel like you ever really got back in it after that?
Well, the start of the game, I don't think either team played very well the first 2 minutes. It depends on what color your shirt you're wearing, but I think both teams didn't score like the first 4 possessions down the court, and then they got a couple of balls to drop, and we didn't. I think it was 7-0 or something, and then we didn't really panic. As I recall, I believe it ended up something like 15-9 at one point, 15-8, something like that. So 7 points is not a large deficit. That's just there's not a lot of points on the scoreboard, so it looks like a large deficit. And obviously, we'd like to have had a better start to the game. I think we were knocked a little. We had a number of times where we went in, and please take this properly, where guys were it was a little more physical than yesterday, a little more bumping, a little more titty bumping kind of going on, and it took us a little while to adjust to that a little bit, to be honest with you. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. It just was very physical trying to get somewhere. But that's something we expected. That wasn't something that surprised us.
Blaine, do you feel that Drexel is an NCAA tournament team after this ball game today against your club, and given the fact they've had the long winning streak?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're biased. You know, I certainly couldn't act like I passed a polygraph test if I was to say, are you biased? You know, I like our coaches and kids in our league, and then when you compete against them, you come to admire them from a competitive standpoint. But I really do. I mean, having played Kentucky a real tough game, having played Missouri right to the wire, I really think that, for instance, a Drexel-Missouri matchup would be a very entertaining game, and I'd give Drexel every opportunity to have success in that game. So I think if you look at it, I think there's been a lot of talk about BCU being on the bubble, if you will, and I try not to read and listen to all that stuff. Enough problems with my own job, but I made comment to somebody before the game that I hadn't heard a lot of talk about Drexel, and I think that the pundits assume maybe somebody's in and somebody is maybe on the bubble, and yet I really do think that there's two teams in our league deserving of participation in that tournament. I think that maybe Mason has a different opinion, and they deserve that if they do. But I think that BCU and Drexel, I went to bat for BCU at this very podium last year after the championship game. I said, anybody that watched that game, I think those guys could win games in the NCAA tournament given the opportunity. Wish I'd have gone to horse races that day with that pick, but I think those two teams clearly could. And then I think we have other teams that fit into postseason play somewhere, somehow. I think we're amongst that group. Mason still has a chance at the conference championship that goes with this tournament that puts you in. And then there's other. I mean, I think that Duke Caldwell, Georgia State played, and I think Delaware showed that. So I think this year we could have 6 schools go on if their administrations choose to support that activity, because you look at the number of wins and the kind of seasons they've had. Wow, they're amongst some of the better teams in the country.
Anything else? Thanks, guys.